it's Karri Flatla here for this week's Friday Fire at Remax Real Estate Lethbridge and KarriFlatla.com. So I'm really excited to give you guys an update today because this is my big spring market update, and this is really a discussion about the impact or lack of impact of COVID-19 on the Lethbridge real estate market. And that is this will be a year-to-date summary. So everything that's happened in the Lethbridge residential market from January to May of 2020. So we're finally getting some good data now on what COVID has done to the Canadian real estate market, of which there is not a Canadian real estate market, there are only local markets, but we can talk a little bit about the economy and then what's happening here on the ground in Lethbridge. So it's not all bad news and the sky isn't falling. Just to talk about the numbers first, and then I will give you some context around that and a bit of direction going forward as to what we can possibly expect. So in the city of Lethbridge from January to May, and I pulled these numbers just a couple of weeks ago, so the inventory numbers would be as of a specific date. So I pulled these on, I think it was about 2 weeks ago I pulled these, so probably getting into June, but this will give you sort of a good snapshot of how much inventory is out there in the market versus how quickly it's being purchased. And as I've said before, in real estate, everything comes down to supply and demand. So when we're pricing your home, we are always looking at the supply-demand situation in addition to comparable sales, because we need to understand the sandbox that we're playing in. Are we competing with 10 other homes in this price range, 100 other homes in this price range? How fast are buyers picking up that inventory? And that really tells us if the market is soft or not in your price point, in your location. So across the city of Lethbridge, it's still pretty soft, but that's not to say some homes are not selling quickly. So I've had multiple listings this year where we got an offer inside of a week, and that house went final inside of a couple weeks to 3 weeks. So it can happen. It's all in how you position your home for the market you're playing in. So that's why this information is so important to know. On the balance, we have 7 months of inventory in the city of Lethbridge. So that's across all price points, north, west, and south Lethbridge. That's a soft market. That is a buyer's market, squarely in buyer's market territory. Certain pockets of the market are softer than others. So as usual, as soon as you get up over $400,000, we have a ton of inventory and not very many buyers who can afford that price point. It really is a luxury market as soon as you get over 400, 450. In the 400 to 500 range, when I took these numbers, we actually had 15 months of inventory. So what that means, if you line up all the homeowners in Lethbridge who are waiting to sell their home between $400,000 and $500,000 list price, it will take 15 months for all of that inventory to clear off the market. So as your realtor, my job is to get you to the front of the line, not the back of the line, in terms of homeowners waiting to sell their house. The best pocket of the market was the $200,000 to $300,000 price range. That shows about 5 months of inventory, still leaning a little bit toward buyers, but it's a much more buoyant part of the market, I would say. If you divide the market between 0 to 400 and 400 and up, everything 0 to 400, that's about 6 months inventory. Everything 400 all the way up to $1 million plus, that's about 14 and a half months inventory. So we have a really fragmented market in Lethbridge, and I've seen this before. This isn't just because of COVID. I've seen this many, many times over the last 8 years that I've been in real estate. So it's very important when you go to list your house right now that you understand how much competition you have in your price range in your part of Lethbridge. So for example, if you're selling a 250 in West Lethbridge, that might go really quick if it shows well. It just kind of depends on a lot of different factors, and that's why it's so important to get a customized plan when you go to sell your house. Don't read the headlines, talk to a good realtor. In terms of digging into specific numbers, in terms of days on market, sale price, that kind of thing, this is where my eyes kind of went big and I like triple checked the numbers. The average cumulative days on market in the city of Lethbridge from January to May was 137 days. I have never seen that in all the years I've been in real estate. So then I went and dug back a couple years. In 2019, for the same period of time, January to May, the average cumulative days on market was 95 days, still pretty high. And then in 2018, it was 71, which I would say is a more normal market for Lethbridge. Out in Toronto and the GTA, the realtors would absolutely have a heart attack if a property sat for more than a couple weeks, or 71 days. So right now, we're tracking months on the market for average cumulative days on market. So it's really high. I think that could be partly because of COVID, but we saw a big increase in days on market last year too in the same time period. So something's happening there. There seems to be a bit of a trend upward in how long it's taking for homes to sell. I think that some of that has to do with a little bit to do with the economy, but also the mortgage rules, underwriting criteria, that kind of thing. We can talk a bit more about that in a minute. Number of sales, so that has definitely slowed down. And again, I do think this is because of COVID. So last year, January to May was 613 sales. Same period this year was 520. So we've lost about 100 sales year over year. And that's not really normal for Lethbridge. Generally, we go up a little bit every year because our population's growing and we have a stable economy. Average sale price has gone down slightly. So January to May last year versus this year, we've seen about 1.8% decrease. It had been on the increase a little bit year over year before that. We don't go up very much every year in terms of residential home values on average, but this could be a bit related to COVID too. It's just put a huge drag on the market. So that's where the numbers are at. We have to put this all in context. So we have people that are saying to us, well, I think house prices are going to crash and I don't want to overpay for a house, or maybe homeowners are feeling a bit panicked because they're worried about the value of their home going down, and unsure about when is the best time to sell, and what if I put my house on the market now or at the end of the year, am I going to lose money? Some of the headlines are exaggerated in my opinion. So one headline or one story that got a lot of legs in Canada in the last few weeks was CMHC basically created a narrative and said that house prices in Canada were going to free fall by double-digit percentages. I don't believe that's going to happen. I've done a ton of research. I just was at a seminar with the deputy chief economist of CIBC, Benjamin Tal. He doesn't think that's going to happen. That it's just the fundamentals don't make sense to see house prices just collapse like that. But remember, real estate's local. So in Lethbridge, we have a very stable economy. We have very high public sector employment. Those jobs are stable. Income stability, job stability, that kind of thing all helps support the real estate market. At the same time, we don't have the volatility of some of the other markets like Calgary, maybe Toronto, Vancouver to an extent. So I don't think we're going to see a free fall. I don't think the whole market's going to collapse. Some people are saying, well, look at all these people that can't pay their mortgages and all of these things. But Benjamin Tal at CIBC said something very interesting at this seminar online. He said about 15% of mortgage holders in Canada chose to get a deferral from the bank. 15%, that's actually not very much considering how many people were told they couldn't go to work. And then out of that 15% of mortgage holders who deferred, many of them are canceling those deferrals, are going back to work. A lot of those people weren't in financial dire straits to begin with. They just opted for the deferral for different reasons, to feel a little bit more secure, or maybe their jobs were looking, they were in a bad situation temporarily, or, it's hard to say, but it's just, there's not this like massive swath of people that aren't paying their mortgages. Now, is Alberta a little bit more risk exposed? I think it might be, just because we are somewhat resource dependent. We've had a lot of volatility in the oil market, and Alberta is struggling. So no matter what, we're probably eventually heading into a more protracted recessionary period, and then we'll start climbing out of it at some point, right? I think we are seeing like a little bit of a slingshot right now, where COVID hit in mid-March. Everybody was told to, stay home, don't go to work. So we had a few weeks of real uncertainty there in the real estate market and in the economy, obviously. But we did see in real estate, people started to kind of wake up from what was going on and say, look, I still have to move, or I still have to sell. So those people are still out there, and people will always have to buy and sell real estate because we live in a mobile society, and there's lots of reasons and inevitable reasons in life that you have to make a move. Your family situation changes, your job changes, you need to downsize, you need to reduce your cost of living, maybe you got a raise and you want to upsize. There's lots of reasons people will make a move, and as long as we're taking the necessary precautions, we're finding that people are getting more and more comfortable with looking at homes, with putting their home on the market, that kind of thing. So talk to your realtor and get specific advice about your specific situation. Those are kind of the main things. I think the other thing to know is that the end game here is a vaccine or a treatment for COVID. And until we have one of those things, everything is going to be different and more difficult and challenging. But we also are finding that people are adapting. Remarkably, human beings adapt, and we've been adapting for a long, long time. So we're still busy on my side of the desk. We are seeing offers quickly. I just had a new listing. We got an offer in one day after we listed it. So it's all about how you are positioning your home in this market in Lethbridge. Do not watch the national headlines and make your real estate decisions based on that, because it would be surprising if we saw double-digit decreases in home values in a center like Lethbridge. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but I would be surprised. This is a more stable market. We have lots of realtors that are very busy, and we have lots of clients that need to make a move. So just give us a call, 382-7335. If you have any questions, that's my direct cell. And I will see you for next Friday Fire. It looks like it's going to be a nice sunny weekend, and hopefully no tennis ball size hail or driving rain. So enjoy it and get outside and get some fresh air and stay safe. We'll see you next time.